Welcome to the Well Chat with me and my beautiful sister, Benaisha Poole Watson, where we get into business, banking, and real estate. And we got a special guest today. I love this woman. She is so full of knowledge. Go get your pen and your paper. You're going to want to definitely make some moves where your health is concerned. Benaisha, I'm excited to have Dr. Jada, girl. Thank you.
Conversation. I think this needs to go around the world.
It does.
Women everywhere need to sit and listen to this.
Yes.
What we're going to talk about today is going to change a lot of people's life.
Yeah.
It's going to uplift a lot of people, and they're going to figure out what. Maybe I've been feeling a certain way because of this.
Exactly.
And they didn't even know it. So I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. It's my pleasure. And you're right. We're going to change lives today. I think we're going to answer some questions. We're going to solve some problems. We're going to set some people free today. Mm-hmm. And we're really going to elevate womanhood in health and wealth.
Yeah. The thing about hormones is a lot of times when people think hormones, they think women. But men have hormones too. So talk about what you do in your practice as being, you're a medical doctor, but you also have a side specialty, which is hormone replacement therapy, which changed my life. I'm so glad you said this. When we were at Martha's Vineyard at that time, we were having some real conversation. And I promise you, once I got my blood work done and that pellet was inserted, my mental, my sex drive, Ben is so grateful for that. My waist, the fat around my waist dropped. It was a whole makeover. How vibrant and wonderful I feel is amazing. I want everybody to feel that.
Absolutely, and I think that's an excellent point that you make, is at a certain point in our lives, things are changing. As busy women, professional women, we got a lot going on. So as we get to the point where we're starting to think about our own health and well-being, we're looking at no energy, feeling tired a lot, okay, you just have enough to slay that boardroom or get that deal and then you're laid out, Having weight gain, difficulty with your memory, brain fog. That's one of the things for me is brain fog. There's so many symptoms that we put off just either due to aging or just being tired. We don't realize that many of those symptoms come together and may actually tell us another story, is that your hormones are out of whack.
Wow. So what made you get into this specialty? We know that you practice medicine, but what made you go in this direction?
I've always been a wellness-based practitioner. As a physician, kind of transplanted into a traditional medical system. I knew that what was happening wasn't enough to keep people well and to really help people invest in longevity in a sustainable way. So I specifically got additional training outside of my MD, so to do wellness-based stuff, and specifically, how do we solve problems, not just put a Band-Aid on them? Mm-hmm. And hormone therapy is one of those. It's the way that we actually stay young. So think about your teenage years when your hormones are really revving up, and there were some things you didn't like, a little acne here and there, but you were feeling great, very active, feeling lively, and the other things. Mm-hmm. So once I really started to look at what was happening in women and the things that they were getting, prescriptions for this, prescriptions for that, I'm like, there's a solution to this. Balance the hormones.
Yeah. Let me ask you this important question. When you do hormone treatment, does your skin change? Do you get acne? Is that a reaction from lack of hormones, or is that a reaction from overstimulated hormones?
So it could actually be both, which is why it's so important to get with a physician that actually understands hormones. And you make a good point, like with pellet therapy specifically, let me just clarify what that means. That is a route or a delivery system for, in my case, I use natural plant-based hormones, not the synthetic stuff that kind of got us in trouble years ago, decades ago, and created a lot of worry and angst. With natural bioidentical hormones that are used in a pellet route, it's easy, it's predictable, it's reliable, and it works. We can see the difference in blood work from when we start and when we actually replace the hormones. So there's a lot that has to go into it, not just doing the procedure, but understanding the physiology behind it. And so that's what I think is really critical. And we can avoid those types of things like fluctuations in skin, which can happen, but not on my watch.
Okay. So let me ask you this for the people in the back. What exactly are our hormones and why do we have them? What is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So think of your hormones almost like a transit system. So there's buses, trains, planes, automobiles that are taking cargo to different places, dropping it off, maybe picking up something, and then keeping it moving so that everything happens the way that it should, because what needs to be there is there and what doesn't need to be there is taken away. So the hormones are like a transit system that go all throughout your body. These are developed by different organ systems. For example, we're talking about male-female hormones. So for females, mainly ovaries. For males, mainly testes. So those hormones are produced in a robust way for a certain period of time in life, and then it starts to decline, somewhere between the mid to late 30s and 40s.
And that was my next question. When do you typically see that transition? So in the mid to, okay.
And because it's so gradual, you may not even pay attention to it as being a thing. You know, at a certain point, I'm starting to pick up a little weight. Let me work out a little bit more. Let me cut back my carbs a little bit more. Okay, then that's it. And then the next day, well, maybe I've been tired. I'm just stressed. I got a lot going on. Then maybe some changes in your hair. Oh, that's crazy. Maybe it's the relaxer. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to scale back.
Now go back, stop at the hair, because what happens to your hair typically?
Oh, yeah, thinning.
Okay.
Thinning. As women age and hormones decline, the hair begins to thin.
Okay.
And so, again, hormonally related. And a lot of times hairdressers don't necessarily, they can't give you all the answers. Like, I can put my magic hands on it, I can drop some drops there. But when the hormones are not hormoning, it's kind of like there's some resistance to recovery in those areas.
Does this have anything to do with alopecia?
In some cases, there may be different causes for certain types of alopecia, but specifically thinning and follicles. Sometimes there are other conditions that also are age-related, but not only hormone-related, that are not fixed with hormones.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Most of your patients, do you find that men are becoming more aware that this therapy is available, or are most of your patients women? And I know you also said you've helped a lot of patients who thought they were depressed. They weren't depressed. It's just their hormones were off. So they're taking Xanax and this other stuff, and that's not it. Your hormones were just off, so it was making you feel off. So are you seeing more men opposed to just women now? Are more men open to it? And what are some of the symptoms in men that you know, okay, baby, your hormones might be off?
Right. That's a great question. I just got a client today who was concerned about her husband. And I will say, men are not doing it as much as they should be. Okay? And ladies, we are their helpmeet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got to help them help themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're stoic. What man wants to admit that he can't perform in the bedroom?
Right.
What man wants to admit that his morning erection ain't, as they say, the morning wood ain't wooden?
It ain't hidden.
It ain't hitting. And what woman wants to really say, it ain't hitting.
Right.
Like, how do you even have those delicate conversations?
Very
so
delicate.
what are some other things? Honey, I notice your mood is off. You don't seem to be yourself. You don't seem to have as much energy. Men start gravitating to the sofa. They want to be in front of the sofa, not out doing things that they used to actually do. You can tell in their physical body, too. Like, they start having more of a gut, just kind of like women do. They start having more belly fat. They lose that muscle structure. You know, that thing that used to cause us to do it once and play.
Turn into the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah, exactly.
Soft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing that happens with men, in addition to just, their libido, is the mood and the irritability. They go quiet on you because they don't know what's happening. And the other thing is just losing that mannish drive to just go out there and get it and, slay the beast for my woman. Like, just that drive, that masculinity is just kind of slowly fading. And again, people put that on aging. But it does not have to be that way. It does not have to be that. We got solutions to that. So women going to have to bring it, just like we always pulling them to the doctor's office. We're going to have to say, we are getting our hormones checked.
Yeah.
And we have an appointment on Thursday.
Right.
And be done with it.
Because their whole ability to be like, hey, I want to dominate this, I want to do this, I want to do that. So that's why, because sometimes I notice that even with some of the older men in my family, even thinking about my father, who is a very demonstrative, very communicative. He's never been a big talker, but he definitely had a lot to say. But I've noticed as he's gotten older, I have to pull like, Daddy, what do you think about this? Daddy, he's 83 now, but I have to pull out of him more of, what he wants, what he's thinking,
who he
where
really
who he really is, or before he was quick to just kind of do it. So all those things go back to hormones.
Yes, very often it goes back to hormones. And the thing about hormones, and I want to put this out there, is you don't have to be quote unquote menopause or postmenopausal to have a hormonal imbalance or hormones that are not quite where they should be. So it doesn't have to be that, oh, I haven't had a period in 10 years, so now I should be in the hormone conversation. The hormone conversation starts, as I mentioned, even in the 30s and 40s. And some women, it may be even earlier. I have some women who have gone through full blast menopause by 42.
Wow.
So it can happen. So if you're feeling off kilter, feeling depressed, like you said, depressed, feeling anxious. I have a client today who just is always on 10. She's a boss lady, but she's always on 10. And I said, well, let's see how we do. Let's go in comparison because she's already done it. How are you feeling anxiety-wise now versus the pellet? She was like, oh, hands down, I'm much better.
Oh, wow.
Being just that wired feeling, just always just on edge and always worried, overthinking, overanalyzing, feeling stressed. We can bring that down. We can bring that down. Because actually, when we bring that down, that's when we get clarity. That's when we get real insight. That's when we can let the wisdom drop in. But when we're anxious, then we're just striving and struggling and trying to make things happen. So I think it's really important for people to really get out of this is that hormones can kind of tap a lot of things. Some people wake up achy in the morning, joints are discomfort, not being able to perform in the gym like they used to. A lot of these things are not, we can't just put them on aging because we have a solution for them.
Does menopause fall under this?
So menopause is a part of this conversation, specifically because essentially that's what leads to menopause. When the hormones begin to decline or we stop producing them like we used to, eventually we stop producing them altogether. So most women will notice, okay, my cycles are getting further and further apart. I used to be like, I'm every couple of 3 months and I know I'm not pregnant. No, you're not pregnant, but your hormones are declining. And so for some women, that may start in the mid-40s. Some women, I find that African-American women will tend to be closer to 50 to 55, but that swing is somewhere between 45 and 55, generally speaking. So when the hormones stop producing, then those cycles go away, and that is technically 12 consecutive months without a menstrual cycle is menopause. Unless you've had a hysterectomy, that's a whole nother topic. When you've had a hysterectomy, the cycles go away permanently. They're not coming back. So you are definitely in menopause surgically.
Wow.
I had no idea. I mean, I knew the hysterectomy removed the uterus, but I forgot to think that they didn't have a period either. So when younger people who have fibroids remove their uterus due to hysterectomy surgery, they don't have a period.
That's right. So technically, they're perimenopausal, and this is real cool. This is good stuff because they don't have a period.
Give us 30 seconds because we got to go to break.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hold that thought. Right. We'll be right back with the Wealth Chat. Stay tuned. Do not go away. You don't want to miss this conversation. Yes. Okay, we are right back with the Wealth Chat where we talk business, banking, and real estate and health, okay? So we're on the topic of hysterectomy, fibroids, not having a period, premenopause. I mean, this is just so much information. Let's go.
So that was a great point. So in other words, when women have their uterus removed, i.e. hysterectomy, That is,
but still have ovaries.
but still have ovaries.
Right.
Because
Okay.
I'm gonna clear this up real quick.
Okay.
So people will say I had a total hysterectomy. What does that mean? Technically, it means you only had the full uterus removed. And think about the uterus, it looks like a light bulb that's kind of screwed in and out. So it's shaped even like a light bulb, but it's fleshy. So that's what's removed. The ovaries are still there.
Okay.
So you need to know when you have a hysterectomy whether they left one ovary, both ovaries, or no ovaries, because that's technically an oophorectomy, which is a different surgery. So just know that. So when the uterus is removed, technically that is menopause because ain't no more cycles going to happen because there is no conduit for the blood to go.
Yes.
However, the ovaries may still remain, especially let's say somebody's 40. Their ovaries are still there and probably still functional. However, what I find is after hysterectomy, it's something about that GPS system that the ovaries are like, we're doing this for what now? For what are we doing? And women will begin to have symptoms. Now, I may have some OBGYNs and some other folks that come to me and say, that's not supposed to happen. I find with the people that I see, when they have that uterus removed, they eventually, within 2 to 5 years, begin to experience symptoms of menopause. So that's the hot flashes, that's the night sweats, that's the hot and cold off and on, especially during the night. That's the depressed mood or feeling low or blue or sad, feeling anxious, weight gain, hair thinning, joint discomfort, loss of libido, vaginal dryness, having low orgasms or not able to climax anymore, all the way to thinning skin, easy bruising, more wrinkles in the skin. Can I stop now?
Wow. I'm nervous. I don't want that. Do we have to have this?
Well, it's going to happen.
It's gonna
'cause,
happen
You know,
to you.
that's the benefit of, as they say, keep on living.
Yes.
So we want to keep on living.
Right.
But what we want to do is bring knowledge into it so that we don't have to suffer as we get older. In fact, we can slow that process, and it's been happening, y'all.
Okay.
People been doing this.
How do they slow it?
We slow it by balancing the hormones.
Gotcha.
We're kind of almost, I don't want to use the word arresting the further development, but because the body has access to these hormones still, the hormones still perform in the skin. They still perform on the scalp.
Right.
They still perform in even in the breast and the heart. There's a whole set of things that happen that you don't even see or feel when the hormones go down. So it's good for cardiac health, for bone health, for breast health, for brain health. So that brain fog, I told y'all that's one of my things, brain fog. When you're in a meeting and you're like, I know the answer to this. Ooh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And you smile. So just that absent-mindedness, forgetfulness, all of those things can be symptoms of hormone imbalance. And those are things that we can recover.
And I find that it's better, even if somebody is watching this and thinking, oh, I'm good, I would still say go get checked.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, there was only one thing that I really kind of knew, because Ben and I had conversations that I knew, okay, this area you're lacking in. But when I got it, like the level of, and I'm already very confident, but it was just like this stunningly vibrant that just comes out of you where you feel like you can do anything, mentally clear. I felt clear already, but definitely there was a greater clarity. And then losing all the fat around the waist. I mean, and then the muscle, tone, like it gives this leanness to your muscles. Like I tell everybody, go and get your pellet. Go see my girl.
A pellet. Now, is this inserted? How does it
So
get?
it's a very simple, and you make a good point. It's a very simple procedure that we do in office, just under a little bit of local anesthesia. We go just behind below the waistline into the fatty tissue. It's a simple procedure. You can go home, do your usual activities. We have a few restrictions that are in place for just about a week, but by and large, it's no reason not to. And I think the thing that you mentioned, even just the second guessing, some of the background things that happen with women, self-doubt, lack of confidence, losing your self-esteem, a lot of these things can definitely be related to declines in hormones. And it's we were just talking about this before we came on, is that our mind, our body, and our spirit are all one vessel. It's all one container. There's no separation from that. So if our body is not pleasing to us in any way, it affects us where? In our mind. And then it dampens our spirit. We lose touch with who we really are, what we're really about, what we came to this earth to do. So there's so much that's connected here.
Yes. Now my question is, how long does it last? Does it have to be replaced? Or is it a one-time insert?
So that's a perfect question. So it lasts about 3 to 4 months in women per insertion. In men, it lasts a little bit longer, closer to about 6 months or so. They get a much, much higher dose of testosterone. Women do need testosterone. Let's make sure that everybody is hearing that. So women will have estrogen and testosterone replaced, and in delicate doses. And we also balance that often with progesterone. There's some supplements that I use to make sure that you're metabolizing that well. So it's about the beauty of the harmony of these, harmony of the hormones working together, much like they did when you were producing them naturally. So we want to mimic that. We don't want to overshoot over here and be low over there. We want to really delicately balance them so that you feel like your old or usual self, but not somebody else.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Now, can your body as a woman produce too much testosterone?
Yes, that can happen. That's a great question. A few situations that will happen is it can happen in women who have virilization syndrome, so a different type of hormone balance because a certain organ is overproducing.
Gotcha.
The other thing, though, that I see most common, especially in women of color, is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So these women will tend to have a little bit more acne, especially in teen years, early years, tend to be a little bit on the thicker or heavier side. And another key tip-off for that one is that they tend to be kind of hairy naturally. Just having to pluck and pull pretty much as long as you can remember, having little hairs on the chest and on the belly, hairy legs, hairy arms. And a lot of times, as teenagers, you can look around, you're in the locker room like, why do I have all the hair? And so that is another instance that is a common reason for people to have a little bit too much hormone, testosterone. However, what we found in women is that we may have been underestimating for many years how much testosterone women really do benefit from to be optimized. So that's a conversation that we have to discuss once we've gotten your labs. So to your point, even if you're not sure if your hormones are a thing or an issue, get the labs checked.
Yeah.
That will give us information. And get the right person to check them,
Yeah.
ordering the right labs and having the right interpretation of those labs. No longer do we just see normal, because it's not outside of the reference range. You really need to understand what normal is from a wellness perspective.
So from an athletic perspective, if you have someone who's lifting or if they're running extremely strong, we're going to call it that, are they more likely to have more testosterone, or they're just naturally able to perform like that? What would if you were to speculate, what would that lean on the fence? I'm just curious because I know in sports that's a big question in reference to how they're testing and what's happening. And I've seen a couple of women who have been questioned about their sexuality and stuff like that when they're doing sports. Is that a higher level of testosterone that's just reflecting out, or what is that?
So that's a good question. I don't know if I have all of the answers, but I will tell you this, is that physical activity, exercise, is a great way to maintain as much as you can healthy reserves of testosterone or hormones. What we will often see is that women athletes specifically, will run lower on their estrogen, which then may create a testosterone dominance, so to speak, or not having adequate estrogen, because estrogen is also stored in where? Fat. That's another conversation. So when we see really athletic women, they're down to like no body fat.
Right.
And their estrogen stores, we have the evidence of those low estrogen stores because they kind of lose that fullness in the breast tissue and all of those things. So it is possible for both men and women to have really sturdy and robust stores of testosterone, which are beneficial in that and not be out of line or unofficial or, like blurring the lines. So, and just to be clear, the type of testosterone that I'm referring to here is not the same as the type that's used kind of unofficially or illegally with the sports industry. Two different things.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Great question.
So I think this is interesting. This has been such a good conversation as we get ready to wrap. I hope that everybody listening says, hey, let me call Dr. Jada, because you have clients all over the nation that fly into Atlanta. And hopefully you and, your significant other, your husband, or, if it's a guy watching, your wife, whatever, that you guys do this together. Because I can see how very quickly, one can be like, whoa, you just put an S on your chest. Who am I married to?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that there's this growing together. And I know you service husbands, wives, single people, whatever. Are you seeing a lot of that difference where it's like, whoa, what happened to this person? We just got 2 minutes, we got to wrap. But I'm just curious.
So that's a very good point. I definitely would suggest that couples have this conversation and consider doing it together.
Yeah.
Because if you get a woman who's got her libido back and she's feeling good about herself and she's looking great, and you got a man that's kind of sitting on the sofa and he's barely noticing all this that's going on, it can create a little bit of friction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we definitely say when couples can, they should come and do it together.
Yeah.
It's because nothing is more frustrating
for
the men even.
Right.
Let's say the man's hormone or sexual appetite is intact, and the woman is like, no, not tonight again. Can I tell you, I have had couples that have not had sex and have not been intimate in 7 and 8 years.
Wow.
And they walk around and they look like
teenagers.
They look like everything is perfect.
Wow.
Everything is wonderful. They have their nice things. They have their nice family.
Wow.
They got the family Christmas photos, but he ain't getting it and she ain't getting
It's
it.
off on that
Wow.
side. I was going to ask you that about the O shots, stuff like that. How many couples do you see that actually don't come? Like, I give you the O shot, maybe we come together, maybe you support me or something like that. But anyway, something happens and it gets off. I got the O and you don't have no O. So
But there's a P for the O.
Okay, they got to get the P.
They got to get the P.
Okay.
Get the P.
Okay.
So she got the O, you got the P. Y'all.
My question is, how many couples do you see that break up after they get the O or get the P?
Wow.
That's a great question.
That part.
And I
We
don't
are
see
out
a
of
lot of
time.
couples
Jesus.
break up, but I see a lot of dissatisfaction in the relationship when it comes to intimacy. So that means they're together, and maybe things are good in other areas, but they're just unfulfilled with their life partner in this area.
Yeah.
And it may be that this matters a lot for the man, so we have to be like mindful of that.
Yeah.
Or it may be that the man is on the decline and this matters a lot for the woman.
Yeah.
So it can be disruptive for relationships.
Yeah.
And what happens is couples then won't talk about it. I don't want to hurt his feelings.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to strip him of his manhood.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I don't know what he wants me to do. This is just how I feel. So you can take it or leave it. Either you love me or you don't.
Right.
So we got to get a little bit, more on the same page.
Yeah.
Ooh, child, we out of time, but this was a good one, and I hope this fosters you guys to have more real, authentic conversations. And I think we're hearing the same thing, that sometimes you got to have those real conversations because you want to be your best at the end of the day, and then you want, your partner, your husband, your wife, you want them to be their best. So hopefully this has inspired you guys to reach out to our girl, Dr. Jada here, or reach out to a local hormone therapist. Check yourself out, see where you are. Thanks so much for joining Benaisha and I and Dr. Jada today. And until next time, don't forget to hit that, what they got to do, hit that.
Smash.
That's right, that YouTube, subscribe. All right, thanks guys, bye.